Hello and welcome to DEE Kai, Digital Era Entertainment's weekly anime podcast. This is episode number 205. I'm one of your hosts, Joel, and joining me live on the line is Jace. Happy Friday, Jace.
Yeah, it's another glorious weekend, long weekend for me too, since I took Monday off for my birthday. So it's just it's going to be me catching up on the anime that I didn't have a chance to watch this week, and deciding whether or not I'm going to be, dropping shows or backburnering shows. From what I saw of Alia, I like it. I really like the concept of Alia, as we mentioned last week with our first impressions. I didn't get a chance to watch episode 2, but then I saw that it's getting a dub. And I got a little intrigued, and I watched some clips of that, and I'm like, maybe I'll backburner this to watch the dub, because...
It's your boy Aaron Dismuke again.
It's Ash Ketchum speaking Russian.
That too. Also, I was thinking recently, just Aaron Dismuke's continued presence in the dubbing industry and his rise as an actor and the consistency with which he has gotten lead roles and frankly carried them pretty well with frankly similar tone, that he's got the pro tag voice. He's got it down. And it's weird to say, but in a way, he is now one of the longest tenured voice actors in the English dubbing industry.
Yeah.
I would have to double check his actual credits, but I think in terms of actual years active, he's now up there with some of the folks that we consider sort of the all-timers. That, think about it, he's been here since FMA Original.
Oh yeah. The original original Alphonse.
He was original Alphonse, and he was not Alphonse in Brotherhood because he hit puberty.
Yep.
Because he's been in it that long, from that early age. And obviously his growth is incredibly apparent, but just, I was thinking, even J. Michael Tatum doesn't do much anime nowadays. That he's, running the con circuit still. He's still around. But
according to BehindTheVoiceActors.com, he is credited in 111 shows, 9 movies, and 10 games.
The thing is, I'd be curious to know how many of those is he a lead in, because he so frequently has these lead roles.
Let's see, side character in Kaiju number 8. They put a check mark, I guess, next to the ones where he's a main character. For
it's
one,
probably a lot.
Like Justice League Ruby, Oscar. That
was one of the things, that
Black
he was
Clover.
Oscar, that he even crossed over into the Rooster Teeth productions, which, hey, Viz Media now has Ruby, so hopefully
the checkmark is confirmed credit from the company. That's what it is. Senku Ishigami in Dr. Stone, Moriarty and Moriarty the Patriot.
Hey, bottom line, he's got a lot, and he's been around, and he does a good job. I've seen episode 3 of Alia. I'm continuing to enjoy it. The bits and pieces that I know some folks didn't care for in episode 2, I think have been moved past, and it'll probably be sort of a recurring gag, but I don't think there's really any actual question on who's supposed to get together at the end of the day. So I'm really enjoying it. I did end up dropping Mayonaka Punch. It's not bad. And in a less hectic season, if I didn't have 10 continuing shows to balance, I'd probably stick it out. But just, it ends up being a not bad, YouTube how to do anime. Just, here's sort of the basics. And I do not find that interesting that I know those basics. Not that I've been a YouTuber, but I've been around content creators for long enough to know these heuristics of how to operate a content channel. So that really doesn't grab me. And while the characters are very fun, they're just not doing enough for me. I think that some folks are really going to enjoy it. PA Works is holding up their end of the bargain on all the production values, so there's no issue there, but I just had to let something go. The other one I let go, as I double check my list, because I've honestly forgotten what I let go because it was that unimpressive. Yes, Atri. It just wasn't doing anything. I think it's just suffering from visual novel adaptation, that they're going very slow and deliberate, and I just wasn't really gripped by it.
Yeah,
I'm hoping that the visual novel's better. I'm assuming the visual novel's better because it obviously was good enough to get this adaptation, but again, didn't really hold it for me. What I did start today, I've watched the first 3.5 episodes of DEE. And I look at it and say, I see why some people are going to love this.
Yeah.
And that for me, I'm probably going to end up dropping it. That in general, I've not really been the type to enjoy apocalyptic shows. And that's whether it's post-apocalyptic, and frankly, the ones that I enjoy least, which this ends up being, is stories of the apocalypse unfolding when we know it's the apocalypse, but the characters don't know it's the apocalypse.
Yeah, I think episode 0 kind of ruins it by giving us a taste of where it's ending before it all happens. And it's like, because then episode 1 hits and you got kids in school and a weird alien invasion going on, but they don't really explain much.
But we know exactly how it's gonna go in the character.
There's a sort of a aloofness about it that reminds me of Fully Cooley.
I can see that. There's a lot of irreverence in the way that the children act. Children feels wrong here because they're teenagers.
But here's the thing. Unlike Fully Cooley, and this is because I have not watched the most recent episode that dropped, episode 9. I have seen up to episode 8, which is 9 technically if you include 0.
Yeah, 0 really throws off all of the actual tracking.
That's been happening too with Kinnikuman. I've been having a hard time tracking that on Mal because I don't think Mal counts episode 0 towards the episode count for Kinnikuman. But Netflix considers episode 0 episode 1 and episode 1 episode 2, and it's confusing the hell out of me. But episode numbers aside, D4, which is what I've been calling it, unlike Fully Cooley, which is irreverent but plays a lot of laughs and there's a lot of action, they lull you into these senses of security throughout the show so far, and then slap you with these dramatic moments that are so well played and so well directed from the cast that, like, episode 4 was the one where I was like, this is a show to watch this year. This is something
I'm
that's
going to stick it out through the end of episode 4 specifically because of the recommendation that you've had.
Yeah,
but I'm still fully expecting to drop it. My guess is I will watch it and say,
coverage.
"Oh, that was a good coverage." Yeah,
with that episode,
I'm recognizing the quality here. It's a slow burn, high tense drama with the apocalypse slowly unfolding in the background, and that structure just generally is not my cup of tea. That it's something I say a lot during our preview shows and at other times that sometimes something can be executed very well from a technical standpoint and from a creative standpoint, but still be something that doesn't appeal to you. And that I'm not the type of person who's going to watch something, even if I know and understand that it is a high quality piece of art and media, if I'm not going to derive joy from it. I don't have enough time to do that.
I'll continue to sing its praises unless it swerves somewhere, in a direction that I don't.
If it's already at episode 8 and it's at this point, I'm assuming that it's doing what it's
The thing is that Ocean Group's dub has really helped me sink my teeth into it too. I think that if I was watching it subbed, it might not have caught me as hard as it caught me.
I'll definitely say the fact that it's dubbed has made it easier for me to watch. That if it was only subbed, I would not have been able to catch up as much as I've been able to because I've just been busy this week. So I'm able to have it on in the background while working. And since it isn't a high intensity action show, it is one that is actually rather listenable. So that's very nice. And if I am going to continue going, that'll probably have to be how I consume it, not necessarily the sit down, watch, get hyper engaged, because I don't know if I'd be able to get hyper engaged by this one anyway. But
it's not a hyper engaging show. It is really this is the sort of thing that you can sit down and watch several episodes back to back and kind of let it sink its, teeth into you after a few episodes, or just put on in the background. But I will say, when things happen, you'll find yourself very quickly rewinding because you'll be like, wait, what? It lulls you into a sense of security because there's very much this sort of day-to-day vibe about things, because some sort of weird things going on with aliens, and you're just like, they're kind of all accepting it as, oh, it's a thing of life now, which is why when something happens, you go, wait, what? And I imagine that is kind of how things would be in real life to a degree too. Like it's kind of like that movie that was on Netflix, Don't Look Up.
Yeah.
It's a vibe very similar to that, but yeah, I've been enjoying it. I will continue to sing its praises if it does something completely different, especially because it was 2 separate movies, and even then it's kind of boggling my mind. I'm like, how long were these movies that they're able to stretch this to? Like, I think it's 18 episodes is going to be the runtime of this show. So they are really adding content that was cut from the movies, from the original like manga and works. Like, I'm kind of curious, like, what were those movies like? Were the movies just cut to the point? Did the movies leave you feeling a little like afterwards because maybe they did cut too much out for it? Like, there's a lot. But it's fascinating to see this trend of Japan taking things from the cinema and cutting them into TV shows. Whereas in America, we're not even doing that. We are straight up. There have been Marvel shows that feel like they should be movies less than TV shows, and they probably would have had a higher budget and a more concise storyline. But I digress.
Yeah.
Japan's doing interesting things with anime as usual. And D4 is up there. Also, that ending theme song does not need to go as hard as it does.
Oh yeah, the opening and ending are very, very solid.
That freaking death growl that those girls do, I did not see that coming.
And then meanwhile, all the continuing ones are really holding up their end of the bargain. And
yeah,
Oshinoko just is hitting for me again. I'm really enjoying it. And even the sort of trashy ones, Our Last Crusade or Rise of New World Part 2 is just continuing exactly as I wanted. I'm really enjoying it.
I'll probably have a few first impressions next week of a few shows that we didn't take a look at, like the No Longer Wanted in Another World, I think it was. I heard good things about that, and I was like, okay. Now that
let me know.
Yeah, because it's an interesting concept. A guy that has no concept of fantasy the way we know it, because he's an older Japanese author, dies and goes to another world and does not want to be there, and keeps trying to commit suicide while he's at it. Like, it sounds like a very dark humor thing, and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of intrigued. You have me in the door with dark humor. So I'm gonna give that a look at, and I'm gonna look at Osan Nubi was another one that supposedly kind of like one of those under the radar type things. I'm like, okay, let's see if it turns out. Like, I got a long weekend ahead of me. So
yes, do enjoy, relax, and I have a long week ahead of me, actually, that I will not be around next week because I'm going on vacation with my family, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be very nice. I fly out in a couple hours, actually.
Oh, wow.
But for now, we're going to be going back to the past. Samurai, not Jack, but Champloo, because that's what's on the cover of Newtype Magazine from July of 2005. Realized it's been about 5 months, almost exactly actually, since our last Newtype episode, and we like doing these every so often. And with the season currently underway, but still sort of in that early spot, we find ourselves in this nice little lull and realize, you know what? Let's go back and crack open one of these magazines. And JCU wonderfully selected for us July 2005. I think last time we looked at something from 2003. So there's a nice buffer of a couple years here to see some differences. And like
that last one gave us a preview of what's to come in Japan, Samurai Champloo. Well, 2 years later, here it is. We're getting it in the States. So we're getting our first or one of our early official English looks at Samurai Champloo versus an early tease that was in the last issue that we looked 5 months ago. Other features, Beat the Heat this summer. 17 features, including Samurai Gun, Fafnir, Madlax. Gotta love the girls with guns genre. Piano. That's not ringing any bells for me. The one that really stands out, Trinity Blood, and Genshiken. Also, the official art of Full Metal Alchemist, because that was still on fire as it was airing on Adult Swim at the time, the original run of Full Metal Alchemist. Funny how things keep coming around in circles here, because we were just talking about that a few minutes ago.
Yeah, I'm actually looking up Piano, the Melody of a Young Girl's Heart, initially aired in Japan from 2002 to 2003. So not unusual to see that type of delay between Japanese and English release, especially back in the day. It was actually a anime original, not based on a light novel or manga or anything. It was handled by Right Stuff and Nozomi, actually, for the distribution. So it did see airing in North America on the Anime Network and Anime Selects, which were obviously both they were
on-demand services mostly.
Yeah. So it didn't end up getting a whole bunch of a lot of spread in the US. That back in the day, if you had to have those on-demand channels, that it was really you're pushing it at that point. You're going to reach the really enfranchised anime fans, but if you weren't on Kids WB or public broadcast or Cartoon Network, you were really not going to be able to get much. But
you were only reaching the hardcore that way.
Yeah, but handled actually by OLM. So good folks over there. And it was only 10 episodes, interestingly, which is actually pretty rare. That you're usually actually going to get the proper 12, 13. But I guess just for the story they had, that 10 was all they needed.
Hey, sometimes it's just enough. So let's open up to our opening ads here.
The ultimate showdown has begun.
Burst Angel.
Burst Angel. Ah, yes. You thought it was over.
So remember to come to the Burst Angel special OVA event at Anime Expo 2005.
Wow. The fact that they're advertising not just for the series, but actually for a specific event at AX. Obviously, AX was plenty big in 2005, but now I'm kind of curious. What do you think the Anime Expo attendance was in 2005, Jace?
Oh, God, I can't even guess, because 2005 was the first year I went to a convention, and that was Anime Boston 2005. So I can't even imagine what AX, because AX has always been the big anime convention. And
to be fair, it was still pretty big in 2005. It would still be big by today's standards, but it was certainly a shadow of what it is today. According to Wikipedia, the approximate attendance to Anime Expo 2005 was 33,000, which still, even today, would make it a top 5 convention by attendance. So that's still a big deal, and it's very clear why they would want to advertise in Newtype that if you are getting Newtype Magazine, odds are you're enfranchised enough to go to AX, assuming that there is the feasibility.
Yeah.
Some of the guests that year include Hunter Mackenzie Austin, J.B. Blanc, Johnny Young Bosch, obviously Colin Clinkenbeard. Now I'm just going to go through a couple names of people that I don't recognize. They actually had a fair number of Japanese guests. They had Ugetsu Haruka, Ryo Horikawa, Liam O'Brien. Okay, there's a name I recognize. J.D. Stone, Helena Taylor. You can find that full list on Wikipedia and on different archive sites from animecons.com.
Yep.
But it's cool seeing that, because obviously social media isn't a thing quite yet. So you don't get the posts on the different...
That was about it.
Yeah, but you don't have announcements going out or people saying, hey, we're going to have this panel or this special OVA. That back in the day, you just sort of showed up at the convention and looked at the schedule and hoped it was good, or
a
you might
printed
get
paper schedule.
Yeah, that sometimes, I mean, I wasn't attending cons in '05, but I would assume maybe they had it posted on their website, but that you certainly weren't going to be getting advertisements or promotional pushes from the companies in the way that you get here. So seeing it is nice, and yeah.
Look at all these retailers too listed down here that they're selling it at. Best
that
Buy,
full band.
Hastings, Fry's Electronics, Amazon, of course, still around. Suncoast, oh, I miss them. Media Play, Sam Goody, FYE, Walden Books, another one, rest in peace, and zstore.com, which I could only assume was Funimation's official shop at the time, based off of the name Z Store. I'm thinking they named it after Dragon Ball Z.
Maybe, I'm not sure. I don't recall there ever being something like that being run by Funimation, but anyways, let's go on. What do we have here?
Up here we got our table of contents along with an advertisement.
What the heck is that? For those only listening, there is a picture of what looks like a robot. It looks like it's welded in places and made of green metal, and it's sort of an alien with a giant orb and weird mouth that's drinking what I guess is lemonade. What does that actually say on there, Jace? I can't make it.
Reading 21 manga to while away those hot summer days.
I'm guessing that's just an original illustration or something. It certainly doesn't look like it's from an anime.
Of course, PlayStation 2 game, Gundam versus Zeta Gundam. It's crossover games, yay! And we will come to all of this as we flip through. Other sub-contents, the lesser articles, along with Dark Horse Comics and Kodansha. Still partnered to this day, except now Kodansha is actually publishing under the name Kodansha, while Dark Horse is publishing as Dark Horse. But yeah, Akira and Ghost in the Shell still being published to this day by them. I have volume 1s of each of those, actually. I got them for a college course.
You got them from a college course?
Yes. When I say I am a pop culture historian, I legitimately studied these things in college. I took a course on the history of Japanese animation and comics. I also took courses.
They actually provided them to you, so it wasn't just you got your book list and you had to track them down somehow. But
I still have a bunch of them too, because like these were some of the readings from that class. Yeah.
Wow. You can't. I don't know if that's on a printed piece of media, Mr. John Twitch.
Oh, that was infamous.
For those listening, there was one of the covers that had a character with a firearm pointed at themselves.
Oh, that's the infamous Beat Takeshi, actually.
Yep.
I forgot what movie it was in, but yeah, that is a famous scene from one of the movies he's in. Anyway, giveaway section.
The classic giveaways. Ooh, Shinichiro Watanabe, Shikishi board. That's a prize right there. And that's not even the big prize. The big prize, let's see. Shinichiro Watanabe Samurai Shampoo.
There's only one of that. There were two of this.
Yeah, and the two lucky winners get DVD volumes.
1 through 4 and a collector's box, plus a UMD release for the PSP and soundtrack CD.
I mean, that's nice. I'd rather have the Shikishi.
Yeah, same. I would have rather had the autograph as well. Other things they were giving away: an Atlas RPG on Game Boy Advance, Volume 1 of the art box of the Area 88 TV series, which is different from the OVA.
Planets Beck Volume 1.
Yeah, DVD, My Beautiful Girl Mari, some Tenjo Tenge statues, Fafner Volume 1 and Art Box.
And what's interesting is these, one thing we haven't exactly mentioned a lot when we go through these magazines is that this type of giveaway where it's, you see it here marked on the page, but for those who are only listening, that you have what is called the A prize, B prize, going down the alphabet, however many different prizes they have, and that it's usually going to be the lower the letter, the lesser the prize, and usually the larger the number of those prizes that are available. And this is something that you see very, very frequently in Japan, not only in magazines as you have here, but that whenever you have different promotional events or pop-up shops or things, that there's a lot of special event goods that you can only get through these types of lotteries. And for whatever reason, this type of giveaway never got traction in the US.
Well, here's the funny thing, because my other half of my magazine collection is Nintendo Power issues. Nintendo Power also used to have a survey card that you could send in to win prizes every month. And the prizes were less individual things like this and more really over the top big experiences. Like we're talking trips to things, meeting people, getting arcade
that's something
machines,
that you see pretty commonly then and now, where it's the idea of that mail-in contest, and that it's usually all right, there is a grand prize winner, as opposed to there's, I don't know how many
multiple prizes.
50,
well, you
60,
picked the prize that you
prizes.
wanted out of the list. Step one was fill out the card, like pick the prize, fill out the card, add postage, and send it away. And they would actually use these survey cards in the giveaways to actually populate the lists at the end that we'll get to that say what's popular amongst people. And here's our main feature, Samurai Champloo, right up front, right away.
Road trip. Is it heresy for me to say that I think Samurai Champloo is very, very good, but I think it's one of Watanabe's weaker installations, honestly? And to be fair, the fact that I think that it is one of his weaker works just is a testament to how strong he is across the board, because it's not a bad show. I am not saying that Samurai Champloo is bad. I'm saying I thought it was distinctly above average. I guess I didn't quite resonate with it in the way that some did. I don't think it's really an all-timer. I think it's a solid samurai show. It's fine. I don't think there was really anything inspired.
The music was
the music is
phenomenal
what
in the
is stand
show.
out about it.
Mugen's fighting style, incorporating the dancing into it and everything, and like blocking shots with like the metal plates on his sandals and everything, like I thought was really badass. The story itself doesn't really stand out in my mind.
That's the thing for me. The story itself was not.
What I remember the most was apparently Watanabe liked Stephen J. Bloom's performance as Spike so much that he went out of his way to get a sound-alike in Japan to play Mugen, because he wanted a character to have that same kind of sounding voice. And then Stephen J. Bloom would go on to play Mugen in the English dub.
Of course.
Interestingly enough, here at the bottom, looking ahead, a quick guide to what you'll be seeing in the next few weeks as Champloo airs on Adult Swim's Saturday night lineup, with descriptions of the next 4 episodes. Worlds collide. Takes a traditional tale into new territory, and his staff's going along for the ride. And then we have a whole section about Shinichiro Watanabe. Major works as a director include Macross Plus and, of course, Cowboy Bebop. 2 of the segments in the Animatrix, with Samurai Champloo being his most recent at the time. His first job was at Sunrise. see.
Yeah, don't want to spend too long tracing through all here because we have a lot
first
to get
look
to.
at Tsubasa Chronicle.
Tsubasa. Admittedly, Tsubasa is a series I never actually saw.
You know what? This basically, they kind of cut it short when they were doing it because it very much could have fallen into Inuyasha sickness. Let's just keep chasing these feathers, across the different worlds that we're crossing over into. Like, this was the first multiverse of madness right here with variants of Shaoran and Sakura going across the Clamp multiverse to collect her missing memories, which are feathers. And they are the same characters as Cardcaptor Sakura, but from a different world, a different kingdom, and then they recruit Phi from the world of RG Veda along the way, Kurogane, who is a new character in Tsubasa Chronicle, and of course, mascot Makona from from Ray Earth, which Magic Knight Ray Earth getting a remake.
Oh, I didn't actually see about that.
Yeah. One. I want to say celebrating its 30th anniversary with a brand new animated series, brand new retelling of it. The trailer came out for that a few weeks ago. It's been joking around. Magical Girl fans, we eating good.
Oh, yes, that's right. That was there was 2 or 3 shows sort of.
Well, or shoujo fans in general, because
shoujo.
Rose of Versailles getting
that was
animated movie. But yeah, Tsubasa Chronicle, God, this era of Clamp artwork, just Clamp artwork in general. I love Clamp. I am a big fan of X and Tokyo Babylon.
They did this little thing called Code Geass. There's your reference.
But we see stuff from everything they've done. There's Ray Earth, there's the original Sakura, there's RG Veda. We have Chobits there in the corner, Holic down there, which crosses over frequently with Tsubasa Chronicle. Some good stuff. And then something about Clamp as a whole, the 4 artists that make up Clamp, because they are a collective.
Honestly, a better output than the Fantastic Four in the West for the past 20 years.
Oh, man. Well, that's about to change next year.
Hopefully, maybe.
Now we have Maburaho being highlighted here. Volume 3 available August 2005 from ADV Films.
I haven't even heard of Maburaho. That's one that just did
Magic
not
School
stand the
Eugenics.
test of time.
Oh,
Three
wow.
girls have the hots for a dude who has high magic power but low magic ability, and they basically want to have his kid.
Okay, then.
Yeah, Magic School Eugenics.
Wow. Light novel lasted 30 volumes.
Wow. I didn't even know that. I just
Anime
remember
lasted 24 episodes.
I just remember that blonde character going like, wow, big boing. Madlax. Yes, the follow-up from Gonzo. I believe it was Gonzo who did it. It is the Girls with Guns genre. Same artists who did the anime noir as well. More on it here. Little section here. Koichi Mashimo, known for working on Dot Hack as well.
Yeah, they did. Let's see here. They did several of the early iterations of Gatchaman. They did, like you mentioned, Dot Hack.
Well, mentioned specifically that Koichi Mashimo is partnering with Yuki Kojura, who also worked on Dot Hack as well.
Ah, yes. Well, and Yuki Kojura is obviously,
and there it is,
definitely stood the test of time.
Oh yeah, Yuki Kojura's definitely anime composer Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, Mashimo has sort of fallen out of the industry. It seems that I'm not seeing anything for them past They worked on Halo Legends, but the last thing that they were in charge of was a show called Hyoge Mono from 2011. So they haven't been around in quite some time, whereas Yuki Kadra obviously still very active to this day.
And here we have Fafner, which was published by Geneon Animation in the United States. Geneon, of course, being what Pioneer turned into after they were fully absorbed by Dentsu in Japan.
Fafner I watched during my internship. That was another show that, along with Steins Gate, I was assigned to pull clips from. So I was watching that with the time codes. If memory serves, that was one of the license rescues that Funimation got after Geneon's closure.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
They were promoting the re-release of the series, not the original release.
Yeah, and Fafner, I mean, one look at the character design on our main character here, and you can instantly see it has ties to another giant robot show, Gundam Seed.
Yeah, and that's just, that look is so early 2000s anime pro tag.
Definitely. Here we have Samurai Gun. Volume 1 available August 2005 from ADV Films. I do not remember this show.
Let's see here. Samurai Gun. Was part of Weekly Shonen Jump at a time, but the manga only lasted 7 volumes. The anime lasted 13 episodes, so a very short-lived one. Obviously didn't really stand the test of time here. The English cast is one that honestly is not particularly star-studded. Was written by Kazuhiro Kumagai, who doesn't even have a Wikipedia page.
Wow. Let's see. Up next, Melody of Oblivion.
Refocus the camera if you could.
Okay, let's camera. There we go.
Much better.
Melody of Oblivion.
One of the interesting things, or rather, these are some of the interesting things of going through these old episodes of Newtype, that we're seeing the ones that did not stand the test of time, because as we also see during some of our retrospective shows, when we go and revisit full year slates of anime, that we see, obviously, even prior to our more modern, I shouldn't call it modern, more recent uptick in anime production, where you're getting 50 to 60 shows being churned out every single season. Even back then, you were still getting 20, 25 shows in a given season, and that's a lot. That adds up over time. That's 100 plus shows in a year, and that obviously not everything was known, not everything got licensed, and even those that got licensed didn't necessarily catch fire, and there were a lot that tried. And that's something that I don't think many people realize nowadays, unless you were there in that time or a bit closer to the early 2010s of just people were trying. These companies were trying their darndest to get anything to stick. They were trying a lot of different genres, and obviously things like action, shonen, rom-coms, and such, as with now, were the bread and butter of what the industry did, and that's just sort of what you have as the bread and butter of the industry in Japan and what is produced. But that so few actually stuck. The ones that we know as the classics nowadays, the ones that people think of as these formative shows that actually stuck, in part were because they were the only ones that really got to broadcast. But the fight that these shows had to go through to get to broadcast, the amount of push and support they needed to get from everyone from the licensors to the actual folks in Japan who may have been supporting things, a lot had to go right for a series to see the light of day in the West at all, and it needed even more to actually make it to broadcast. And not everything that made it to broadcast really had that staying power, but it kind of shows the difference of just how vital it was. Because if you weren't getting on broadcast, if you weren't getting on TV, you were kind of doomed. There really, at that point in time, just was not the critical mass in terms of the Western fandom. There are probably some really good series here that may actually have really good followings in Japan, but just did not get the traction or perhaps the financial backing to be actually broadcast in the West.
Yeah.
And, even if they were put on the anime channel, even if they had a release from Nozomi Entertainment, that's going to be super, super, super niche. And that while you don't see it much actually make it to broadcast even now, that without streaming, people just were not seeing them because you had to go so far out of your way to get these DVDs. And it was just prohibitive in terms of cost, but also just visibility, because it wasn't big enough back in the day that you weren't going to be getting people talking about it online. There wasn't what we know as modern social media. You'd have to hear it in the schoolyard. You'd have to get it by word of mouth, by forums, and
some shady blog.
Yeah, and those were certainly not as populated as social media, and overall the number of people that were into it already. And that's even before you're considering the sort of cultural, social connotations of anime being considered the weird thing. There's so much that they tried, and they were even able to get the license for these things, promote them in all of the available channels at that time, and they really didn't even make a dent.
This might be a sleeper hit worth looking up, maybe? I don't know. This is by Gainax, actually, with some mech designs by Yoshiyuki Sadamoto, who worked on Evangelion and Dot Hack. So yeah, might be worth trying to see if Melody of Oblivion is available somewhere, out of pure curiosity. Speaking of giant robots, Overman King Gainer. So this was a Bandai release. Genshiken, an anime about being nerds. Yep, I remember this show.
Genshiken is one that I have not seen, but it's a name that I certainly hear a lot more than some of the other ones we've mentioned so far today. It had 21 manga volumes. It had only...
I learned a lot
24
about...
episodes. No, it actually had 3 seasons. Sorry. So that was 37 episodes.
I learned a lot about Japan through stuff like this in Comic Party. In fact, there's even a small section here of quote-unquote otaku speak. Akiba, short for Akihabara. Bishoujo, genre of anime devoted to cute young girls. Cosplay, short for costume play. Dojinshi, fan-produced comics or fanzines. Gashapon. And then Kujibiki Unbalance, the name of a mock anime show within a show from Genshiken. Also, just looking at everything in this picture too, like, hey, look, a Super Famicom just chilling on top of a CRT. And I think that might be a Dreamcast tucked away there. Like, they're hardcore if they have the Super Famicom out and not the Dreamcast. I could be wrong. That might be a Sega Saturn, depending on the year, because it was sold in white in Japan. But man, I love looking for Easter eggs in backgrounds like this. Here is Piano, as we mentioned. This is another one from the cover. And now we get to Japan Now. The stuff that's currently in Japan at the moment. Guyver, the bio-boosted armor. It is a anime that also had a live-action couple of movies, one of which had Mark Hamill in it, actually.
Huh. How about that? Guyver is actually still available today on Crunchyroll.
Wow.
26 episodes, produced again by OLM, actually.
Yeah, this just had some great monster designs. It's straight up just animated tokusatsu. It's my kind of stuff. It's my jam. Guyver had a cool design, but man, seeing a live action tokusatsu film with Mark Hamill in it, that was definitely a trip.
Something else.
Love Gay, Kamichu, Peta Peta-san, Amayendayo, Temptations.
And we're seeing a lot of ones here that since they are in Japan now, that they aren't having localized titles. So that's why you're getting Peto Peto-san, Kamichu, and these other names that are very clearly Japanese.
Although here's something that looks a little familiar. Speed Grapher.
Ta-da!
Gonzo, you never miss. Except for with Final Fantasy Unlimited. That was a massive miss.
Now looking up Love Gate, the anime, just the name caught me, and I'm trying to see if I can even find it, and it's not really returning anything.
Akahori Gero Love Ge Zettai Seigi versus Sorayuki Gero Otometai. It's actually 2 shows.
Akahori Gero Our Ranguge
time slot. The first is Zettai Seigi Love Pheromone, and the second is Sorayuki Gero Otometai. So it's actually 2 shows in a half-hour time slot.
Akahori's Heretical Love Akahori's Heretical Hour Love Game, if I'm reading this right.
Huh.
Because
versus Sorayuki Gero Otometai. So it was 2 shows.
Yes, I'm seeing that. Yeah, that's what it is.
2 shows in one time slot.
That's something that I'm kind of interested that they don't really do nowadays. Either, and you don't see it in the West or in Japan. You used to get these types of shows where, all right, it was 2 short form shows that would just be spliced together. That way you have a full half-hour block.
I mean, that's how they was in. Yeah, it was part of a show that had, I think, like 3 shows.
Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Cow and Chicken and I Am Weasel.
Yeah, or sorry, not Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Grim and Evil.
Grim and Evil, when it was Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy and Evil Con Carne. Yeah.
With how many short form anime are still being produced today, I'm kind of surprised that they don't actually bundle them like that anymore. And I don't really feel like they ever did. That the fact that this one existed at all makes it an anomaly.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a rarity then and a rarity now. So for the most part, we have an ad for a Nippon Ichi RPG here, Makai Kingdom, Basilisk Koga Ninpocho. I believe that did get licensed. The Glass Rabbit, and a huge 2-page ad for Ragnarok Online.
That's an interesting ad, making it look like a postcard.
Yeah.
You have each letter with a different locale or different characters. That's actually just very solid graphic design. That holds up.
This is why I miss magazines. I miss graphic design like this. So, oh, hey, it's my car. I drive a Scion XB. Mine's a 2008 though, so it's the version 2.0. But yeah, they were clearly advertising to my tastes. Deers, that did get licensed in America too. I remember that. This is USA now. We've left Japan. We're in USA now. Go Komi debuts. The US manga business keeps on expanding. I don't think they exist anymore, but
I don't think so either.
They license things like Cantarella, a medieval historical fiction from Seimaden author Yo Higuri, Her Majesty's Dog, a romance about a girl and a canine spirit protector, Crossroads, story of a teenage love between a woman and her stepbrother. Glad to see that things still haven't changed storyline wise.
War never changes.
Crossroad, story of a teenage love between a woman and her stepbrother. Yeah, okay, that one. And Tenchi Janai, I Am No Angel, odd love story about a high school student and the superstar she shares a dorm room with. But manga prices still generally the same. Still somehow $9.99 for the most part. I think some might be from
which
small
means that they
publishers,
were
like
substantially
$13.99.
more expensive.
Yeah. Some manga now is like $13.99. I think the average price is usually either $11 or $9.99, depending on.
That means that they are still cheaper in relativity now than they were in 2005.
Oh, this is an actual, I think, removable poster for it. Oh, and
I
note
wonder
the
how
fact.
much they paid for that.
Note the fact that Pioneer audio systems came standard in Scion cars. So Pioneer published anime under the name Geneon. Pioneer became Geneon. So yeah, no wonder they're advertising Scion in a anime magazine.
That makes a lot more sense. I was thinking, wow, it seems kind of odd to just see a random car ad here in Newtype. Yeah. I guess maybe they wanted to try and tap that market. And my guess is advertising in this type of magazine is probably much, much cheaper than something with a larger circulation. So maybe they saw it as sort of a penny stock offer of, okay, fine. We pay $5,000 to get a full page fold out center ad in here, whereas you're going to pay something like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars if you're trying to get into a big name mainstream magazine. So maybe they just saw it as, whatever, this is a drop in the bucket of our marketing expenses. Let's see if it pays off. And if it doesn't, whatever, it's no skin off our back. But if it's actually just the same company, a different branch or subsidiary, then that question I was saying of, gosh, I wonder how much they paid for it becomes zero. It's, hey, we're going to advertise in our own product.
Yeah. .hack is back, which is funny because they're showing a picture of Twilight's bracelet, or Legend of Twilight, but the article here, blurb, says, just when you thought you were wrong, .hack GU, sequel to the game series, is coming. .hack GU. Oh wait, .hack GU still exists. There's the Switch remake of the PS2 game.
Thank you for having these on hand.
So I've got just shelves surrounding me. It's like a small library of sorts. I see it and I go, oh, I can grab this. So I am a massive hacker. I will always stand that series and continue to say that hack is the superior VR MMORPG isekai storyline. Suck it, Sword Art Online.
Final Fantasy VII Advent
Children.
Yep. Ooh, there's one
big deal.
That was,
and here's the
huge
thing.
Deal.
Between this page and this page, we get twice the references for UMD releases. Because Sony trying to, sell you a media player on top of a game system.
They tried.
Sakura Tyson. They did.
The Advent Children, say what you might know, it's technically, it's an animated production that was made in Japan, so it's technically an anime by the definition that I stand by. And Advent Children, just even going as far back as Spirits Within, and obviously Spirits Within did not necessarily do terribly well. Admittedly, I still have not seen Spirits Within. I have seen Advent Children.
That thing flopped horribly, and yet I still own it on DVD.
But Advent Children, obviously, just the name Final Fantasy VII, it then, as it is now, one of the biggest RPGs in history. And frankly, it was probably bigger then than it is now, because it's not that it's faded, but it's just more recent at that point. And the CG in Advent Children still holds up today. If you were to release that same movie today, it would be considered above average, distinctly above average. You could put that on, Netflix could release that today, and people would say, oh yeah, no, this is quality CG animation.
It doesn't reach the uncanny valley that Spirits Within did.
Exactly, that the eyes were good. The only thing that is a bit more difficult, and it's not even a fault of the animation, of just the dub was, since the animation of the lips were so good, it was much more difficult to mask the actual language differences. That it felt like I was watching a live action dub, that you could tell, all right, the lips aren't matching the actual sounds that the character is making. But that wasn't a function of it being a poorly done animation or dub. It's because the lip motions in Japanese matched what they were saying in Japanese to such a degree that you don't get in anime, because usually it's just the lip flaps, but that the animation there was so good that they couldn't mask it in the way that they normally do. And the action was good. The effects were solid. The fight scenes still hold up, certainly. And even as someone who hadn't played FF7, it was still an enjoyable movie. I could tell that I was missing some of the things, and I know that fans of the game who had played it and knew the characters and the story enjoyed it a lot more than those going in blind. But it was also just, it gave you enough to work with. And that the character of Cloud, as was portrayed there, was really good. And goodness knows, the last fight with Sephiroth and a really, really good rearrangement of One Winged Angel, still by Uematsu naturally.
I mean, I'm always going to be partial to the original version of that song because Latin choir just hits harder than the choir in Japanese.
Yeah, but my personal favorite arrangement of One Winged Angel is the FF7 reunion track, which was released, I forget which year it was, but it was pretty far back. I think it was 2009 or something. But bottom line, Advent Children, really good. I mean,
they're still milking that franchise to this day from the original game.
Yes, they are. They're doing the remake.
That's not even the remake. That's the original game, just on Switch. That's Final Fantasy VIII remastered, original Final Fantasy VII, just because they needed to fill cartridge space, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, Final Fantasy VII, it will never die. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the OVA of Stardust Crusaders. This is the JoJo I remember before JoJo got big.
I remember first hearing about JoJo in 2013, 2014. It was already in part 3 by then. And I was like, wait, how did I miss this? I just haven't heard of it, but it seems to have this following. I would love to see a full case study and sort of statistical analysis of the spread and growth of JoJo in the West. Because
I mean, like, Capcom had the fighting game, and then there was the OVA here.
I'm so curious to know where's the turning point. There has to have been
it had to have been the most recent. It's got to be the David Productions version that really allowed it to catch on.
Yeah,
because up until that point, it was kind of obscure. Like I knew of JoJo from like.
But at the same time, I feel like the David Production version was heralded in a way that I heard about it and was like, oh, people are excited for this.
Yeah.
Where did you all come from? Who are you people?
Canadian National Anime Expo 2005, Canada's largest anime convention. Does that still exist?
My guess is not, but let's find out.
Featuring Richard Cox, voice of Inuyasha, Kirby Morrow, Moroku of Inuyasha, Brad Swale, Katra from Gundam Wing.
CN Anime last existed in 2011. What's interesting is that it was getting massive.
Angela Live and
CN Anime had 79,000 attendees.
Wow.
What was AX doing at that point? Anime Expo.
Special appearance by Elijah Wood.
Well, why not?
Yeah, why not?
In 2011, the AX attendance was 47,000 unique, 128,000 turnstile. Admittedly, we don't know here if the 79,000 from CN Anime is turnstile or unique. For those who don't know this particular jargon, there are multiple ways to track attendance at an event, and the two general ones are unique badges, where it's very simple. It's how many badges did you sell? Plain simple. Then there is turnstile, which asks how many people attended the event each day and added up. So if I'm an attendee and I bought a 3-day badge and I attended all 3 days of the event, I count for 3 people in the turnstile numbers. And naturally speaking, turnstile numbers are going to be higher than badge numbers. And so, especially back in the day when cons are trying to make themselves look good to advertisers and whatnot, they're much more prone to using the turnstile numbers. And you don't always get that clearly indicated when those numbers are published. It's usually something that cons more openly publish today. Back in the day, it was much more obscured, and that when you end up looking at past records, not as many have gone back and necessarily clarified which was which. So you have to sort of make an educated guess. And my educated guess is that 79,000 in 2011. If the turnstile at AX is 128,000 versus 47,000 unique at AX in 2011, I do not think that Canada had a larger anime convention than AX at the same time. So I'm having to guess that 79,000. But even so, that would mean that this is probably a 30,000 person convention, which is still incredibly sizable. And the fact that it just stopped, I'm very curious. Let's see here. There was crowding issues, but that was in 2005. So what happened in 2011 that made it stop? My guess there may have just been production issues, or
maybe.
Oh no, I see. Combined with Fan Expo Canada, that's why it stopped.
Okay.
It still exists. It was just rebranded / purchased.
So here's an interesting ad here for Anime Play from Hirameki International Group. These were DVD versions of PC visual novels that you could play on your DVD player. This did not last. Very, very, very small market for this sort of thing. But some fascinating YouTube videos about this when talking about the history of visual novels and visual novels in the United States. And when did we start calling them visual novels? All of this came up actually months ago when we were first talking about Kokoro no Pro when that was up on Kickstarter. We have our articles here. Satsuki Igarashi from Clamp. J-List and J-Box still around to this day.
I'm surprised they were able to have those advertisements there. For those who aren't watching the videos, some of them were quite risque.
Well, that's because J-Box is the all ages shop. J-List is the 18 plus
yes,
shop.
But they had some images there that were very close to 18 plus. But anyways,
yeah,
we should probably start to wrap things up. We've actually been taking our sweet time on this one, so we're already a little bit at time.
We have our manga section for Lagoon Engine Einsatz. So
you can feel the difference of the print, can't you?
Oh yeah, different page altogether. And I had that Menchie hat. I don't know if I still have it, but
yeah, for the subscribe now, only $29.99 a year.
3 easy installments of $29.99.
Oh no!
This was a $90 a year magazine.
Oh my gosh!
Because every issue came with a DVD and other things.
Yeah, that's right. It did. Even so, that's a lot.
Yeah.
By today's standards, that's probably going to end up being what, at least $125.
Oh, easily. So my school used to do one of these magazine fundraiser things.
Oh yeah, I did that. I was always one of the top sellers. I would go around the neighborhood and
I would hit my limit for getting the no uniform week at my school because I went to a private school because I would get this Shonen Jump and Nintendo Power every year. My grandmother would gift me one of those 3. And this one was $90 a year. And between those 3 magazines, that was like $150.
Oh, and
a year.
The different goals weren't related to the number of subscriptions you sold.
It was a dollar amount.
It was the dollar amount.
Yeah. So with only 3 subscriptions, I was hitting that limit, and it was just like,
there you go.
Think work smarter, not harder. Here's Trendy Blood, which is this it here? No, that's X. I'm pretty sure I have Trinity Blood on DVD. This was another Gonzo animation. Vampires being fought by the church. Abel Night Road, one of the most gothic sounding names ever. Opening theme song by Bucktick, because when you think vampires, you think Bucktick. So, and he was a Krusnik, so he was half vampire. He was a vampire who hunted vampires. He was just White Blade. Zettai Shonen. Shuffle. This did get released in the United States. I remember that. Tsukina mono wa suki dakara shouganai. Yeah, I don't know if this one got licensed. It doesn't look familiar to me.
Probably not. There were a lot that just didn't. Summer
reading section. Hey, Cromartie High School, Dr. Slump, Fruits Basket. It's that classic Tokyo Pop labeling. Viz still somewhat using that style that they used back then, even to this day. Chrono Crusade, Genshiken, Full Metal Panic, Bleach, Midori Days, Gravitation for BL fans, Sergeant Frog, Prince of Tennis, Yotsubato, Full Metal Alchemist 2, Curse of the Crimson Elixir. This was a PlayStation 2 game that came out in 2005. Some more advertisements. Art of Full Metal Alchemist. Spoilers ahead for a show that came out back in the 2000s. It's a great cosplay reference material. Anime Ego still exists. There's a 2-page ad for the game that was just previewed. Letter section and fan art. Gotta love the SpongeBob and Patrick down there. Did I lose connection? Oh god.
Oh my gosh, that's just ridiculous.
Cosplayer Spotlight.
Cosplay Spotlight. M. Alice Legros. Hold on. Legros. Where are they now? Is an American alternative comics artist best known for her gothic dark fantasy graphic novel series Bisengast.
Yep, which was published by Tokyo Pop.
Mm-hmm. How about that?
And you can actually see some art of hers right there.
Yep, Bisengast, the novel published by Tokyo Pop in 2008. So at this point in time, that hadn't actually been released.
Yeah, although she mentions, I think my art and cosplay have had equal effect on each other. Because of cosplaying, I tend to take more care in designing costumes for my characters. Because of my book series, Bisengast, I make more originally designed costumes from it now. So she was independently publishing Bisengast before 2008.
How about that?
RIT Anime Club from Rochester, New York.
Yes. Rochester Institute of Technology.
More.
They actually had a Gamer Symphony at one point. I think they still might.
Suncoast ad here. Gundam Seed, Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. Here we go. This is the what's currently airing and the actual ratings in Japan. Airing in 2005. We got Beck, Mongolian Chop Squad. Ah My Goddess, Blackjack, Bleach, Bobo Bo 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 Bo.
I think there was one more bow in there. Not sure though.
Bobo Bo 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 Bo. That's
Bo
7
Bo
bows.
Bo 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 Bo.
Bo 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 Bo.
Oh, you put the emphasis on the other syllable.
Yeah. Well, I remember reading
the emphasis on the other bow.
I remember reading that was actually how it was supposed to be said, was bo 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 bo.
Okay, because I distinctly remember, at least when they were advertising on Toonami, that it was bo 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 bo.
I think they advertised it like that because it was funnier, but I remember reading in Shonen Jump at the time when they showed off the manga that it was bo 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 bo.
And I wouldn't be surprised just you get things lost in translation, such as pronunciation, and that pronunciation does include syllable emphasis.
We got Gallery Fake Gankutsuo, another thing I got on DVD.
Ah, yes.
Gensation Justerizers, Get Ride Am Driver, Harukanaru Toki no Naka de Hachio Sho, Zatch Bell, Jinky Extend, Maho Sensei Negima, Major, Case Closed, Mobile Suit Gundam Seed Destiny, Monster, My Hime, Naruto and One Piece, Onmyo Taisenki, Peach Girl, Pocket Monster Advanced Generation, Precure Max Heart, School Rumble, Sergeant Frog, Starship Operators Tactics, Transformers Galaxy Force, Tsukiyomi Moon Phase, Xenosaga the Animation, Yakutate Japan, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters GX. Wow.
Game on, get your game
GX
on.
was new in 2005 in Japan.
Yes, it was.
And Zipang. Then we've got monthly sales, the reader ranking polls.
Yeah, I don't have the time to go through all that, but now you get all the lists of different shows that are airing.
Anime Network listings and where you can possibly watch it. And different carriers had different selections.
They gave you those options.
So, like,
for
if you
people
had Time
that say
Warner,
that, it's a hellscape right now with all of the streaming services. No, folks, it's always been a hellscape.
Here's the thing: if you had Time Warner, you had access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like 15 shows. But if you had
now, question
Comcast
of those 15 shows, how many are on premium channels?
This is just the Anime Network on demand.
Okay, so that's the thing. That also, it was not only are you paying for your normal cable subscription, but then you are paying an extra add-on fee. That there was the whole worry of with net neutrality and whatnot of companies doing this sort of thing. Because it had existed already on cable of, okay, you have your basic package, but then you can get the premium package, but also you can get these
package
a la carte
thankfully
channels.
Had this on demand, so I was watching
and that's the thing. Just, I'm not going to say that everything is, it's totally perfect nowadays, but I will defend that anime is still more accessible, easier to find, and of higher quality than it was at any other point. And that if you're, is the streaming landscape fragmented and messy? Abso-freaking-lutely. I would argue that cable was much more difficult to keep up with.
It wasn't to a degree. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Segment with an interview with Megumi Hayashibara, famous voice actress, voice of Ranma. Or specifically Ranma-chan in Ranma 1/2, which is coming back this fall, baby! Cosplay section. Gintama cosplay before anybody really knew what Gintama was. Japanese horror movie Dark Water. The Place Promised in Our Early Days. Winner, Best Animated Film, 59th Annual Mainichi Film Awards.
We need to start wrapping up, but oh my gosh, Puffy Amiyumi. What a memory right there. And just,
hi,
these are always so crazy and fun to end up seeing. But Jace, thank you again.
TM Revolution's album.
Yeah.
Always good music.
Sort of these last hits. Figures.
The video games. JRPGs,
Romance of Three Kingdoms X, Inuyasha. Yeah, there's so much
Romancing
here.
Saga, Inuyasha. Now the manga section here.
Ongoing Chop Squad.
Tenchi Muyo, Ryo Oki, when that was just coming back.
I didn't realize how many pages were still left of this thing.
Yeah, I'm just kind of flipping quickly through this. Yu Yu Hakusho was still being published. They had not finished running it yet. Gotcha Man, complete with Alex Ross artwork, which was actually kind of cool. This is when they were first coming out with slim pack collector's editions of stuff. Stuff that's currently being published in Japan at the time. Kyokara Mao, Amagami Sama, Girls Bravo, Pat Labor, the new files. Newtype DVD of the month. The Place Promised in Our Early Days. It is a quintessential movie, actually.
Active Faulkner, Irresponsible Captain Tyler, Piano, Ghost in the Shell,
Elfin Lead. Oof. Oh, that's a classic.
Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist.
An actual plush from Gravitation that you could buy because merchandising. Look at what you've been missing. It's a rundown of old issues just being advertised in here. How to art section. How to digital art, which is really cool. I bought my first drawing tablet around that time, actually. Hats, 25% off. Now 100% off. Because Funkos don't exist anymore. Genshiken, I just noticed this ad right here for Genshiken with the Gundam Gunpla grading in the advertisement. Skill level 96. Nerd grade heavy edition. Oh man. I love genius stuff. And then ending it off,
Planets as the back cover.
Yeah.
Well, Jace, again, thank you. I'm glad you kept all of these. How many issues of Newtype do you have?
I have about 4 or 5 years of it. I have from the second ever issue, which was a dot hack issue. That was the one that I saw it on a newsstand and grabbed it. And shortly after I subscribed. So I'm missing like a few of the early ones. And then like I got it for about 4 or 5 years straight. After that.
Yeah, so it sounds like me with the Shonen Jump, that I had a lot of Shonen Jump, but never really got into Newtype. I had
about 5 years worth of Shonen Jump, but I had donated those all to the Anime Club at one point because I was just running out of room for physical media at the time.
They're worth anything, but
anyways,
these are
still got all of my new types. I have almost all of the DVDs because I did gift some DVDs to my friends if I actually bought the shows. In retrospect, oops, it would have been nice to have everything complete, but whatever. But yeah, that and Nintendo Power, my 2 massive magazine collections that my bookshelves can't hold up.
Yeah. Well, thank you to everyone who's been listening in or watching live on Twitch. As always, you can follow, like, subscribe here on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And on YouTube, you can see the trailer for Kokoro no Pro, our upcoming wrestling visual novel. You can also play the demo for Kokoro no Pro on our itch.io page. And you can see our friends Image Anime at imageanime.com using the code DESCOUNTSHIP, that is DEESCOUNTSHIP, for free shipping on orders of $100 or more. And you can get Digital Era Entertainment merchandise from merch.streamelements.com/Digital Era Entertainment. I'm going to be gone for a week on vacation, but I know that Jace, you will still be here next week, so don't do too much arson without me if you can help it. But I understand no promises are possible. So do stop by for that and plenty other nerdy content here on Digital Era Twitch. So thank you all once again. Stay safe, stay sane, and we will see you next time on Digital Era Twitch.
Get back, Sandra!